Hello everyone. It is August 16th, 2016. It is Tuesday and it's a little bit windy out here at the park. It is 9:30 a.m. and so I've made this sort of screen wind guard out of a piece of paper towel and some tape, and I'm hoping it does help. I tested it. It does help with the wind sound, but you'll still hear some wind sound, so for that I apologize. It can't really be helped out here. So this is the 40th Morandom topics, and I think 40 is a good number at which to work to improve myself in what I'm doing. Up until this point, I've just been sort of doing random things, which of course is called Morandom topics, so that makes sense. But I think it's time to improve my level a little bit. And today I wanted to talk about criticism. And, you know, I've never really been good at receiving criticism. But before I talk about that, I should mention how I define criticism, or what criticism is. Because to me, criticism, there's different layers to it, and there's different levels to it. It's above an insult, because an insult is something that you say either to hurt someone's feelings, or it's said in a way that doesn't provide anything that someone can act upon. It's not a method by which someone can improve. So an example of that would be, wow, you're really ugly. And that might be true. Of course, that's subjective. But even if that's true, you're not providing a way for someone to improve that ugliness. Whereas criticism to me is something that you say with the intention of helping someone understand what they can improve. However, there's a difference between criticism and constructive criticism. And to me, constructive criticism is criticism that you frame in the context of being able to help someone improve what they're doing. So for example, criticism could be, your kick isn't high enough. Constructive criticism could be, your kick isn't high enough because you're not relaxing your hips. So try to relax your hips and your kick will be higher. That's constructive criticism because you're providing a venue or a method by which the person can improve, versus just saying, wow, your kick isn't high enough, and that doesn't help them understand how to improve that kick. Then you put them on a journey of trying to figure out why their kick isn't high enough. And perhaps you don't know how to improve their kick. You're just observing, oh, your kick isn't high enough. But at least you can provide options. Oh, your kick isn't high enough. I'm not really sure how to improve that, but you might try talking to your coach and seeing if they can see that a way to improve. Or maybe you can do some research, or there must be a way to improve it because other people's kicks are higher. So why don't you try and figure that out, because you could be a lot higher. And that, I think, is a better way to provide criticism, because it allows someone to see a method by which they can improve. So you're not just saying something negative for the sake of being negative or saying something, okay, so the negative versus positive aspect is another thing that I should mention. When I first hear criticism, it hurts, because I'm someone who's very sensitive to criticism. For whatever reason and however I was created and made in my brain, I tend to be sensitive to criticism, especially if it's not provided in a constructive context. It's just the way I'm wired, I guess. And at first it hurts, but later I always try to analyze the truth of it. Once I've gotten over my hurt feelings, I always try to think to myself, well, is what they're saying accurate? And then if it is accurate, how can I improve that? How can I be a better version of myself? And I always want to become a better version of myself. I always want to improve and be someone who's better than I used to be. Whether or not I accomplish that is a different issue, but I try to be better than I was before. So the other thing about whether it's positive or negative, is that I have to realize the reason it hurts is because I allocate an emotional context to what the person's saying. It's an emotional response. Hurt feelings are emotions. And so that means I'm having an emotional response to what is being said. The information itself isn't good or bad, really. It's just information. I mentioned this before. If you see a tree, it's not good or bad. If the tree falls on your friend, then it's a bad tree. If the tree provides you with fruit and nutrition, then it's a great tree. But the tree itself is just a tree. So the comment is not really good or bad. It's just a comment, if it's not an insult, obviously. So if someone says your kick isn't high or your kick needs to be higher, that's not a good or bad thing. It's just a factual thing, if it's true that your kick needs to be higher. So the first thing is that I need to understand that it's an emotional response when I'm feeling hurt. It's not reality. It's emotionality, if that's a word I just made up. So I have to decide, based on my previous life experience, what that emotional context is. Now, one example of this is when you're in China, or some other countries in Asia too. This wind is really picking up. When you're in China, if you're overweight, you'll often hear people say, wow, you're fat. If you took that in the Western emotional context, that would be insulting. You wouldn't say you're fat to someone in the US, you would get hit. But in China, saying, oh, you're fat, it's just an observation. It's not meant as an emotional insult of any way. It's, oh, you're fat. It's like, true, okay, yeah, technically I am fat, so that's not an insult. Or, oh, you're really skinny, or you need to eat more, that kind of thing. And in fact, it's an indication that someone cares enough about you to make that observation. So technically it's like a good thing to say someone's fat. Don't go around calling people fat in China. Just don't do that. But so this is the emotion versus the fact, right? The context in which something's said. So the response, hey, I will. Joshua. The context in which something's said isn't good or bad. It's your response to that thing that's good or bad. So I need to remove my emotions from the fact. And the best way to do that for me is to immediately ask myself, is what this person is saying true or not true? If what they're saying is true, then okay, I can address that. If what they're saying is not true, then I can ignore that based on my understanding. And the second question to immediately ask myself is to tell myself, not a question, but to tell myself what they're saying is not good or bad. What they're saying is just words. So taking out the emotional context. First thing is identify, is it true or not true? Second thing is understand that it's not good or bad, it's just information. So these are the things I need to remind myself, that when I hear criticism, that's what I'm going to try to do. It isn't necessary to take emotional ownership of criticism, but you can take ownership of the facts, and you can take ownership of your desire to be better. So if you really want to become better, then you'll welcome constructive criticism, or even criticism that isn't constructive but gives you the opportunity to improve yourself. So as an example, I got an email from my mom yesterday, and I had mentioned that I have these Morandom topic videos, and she said that she had watched a couple, but it was really hard to understand what I was saying because I was speaking too fast. So it's not going to watch them anymore. And so I had to identify, okay, is what she's saying true? And it is true, I speak too fast. And you can tell I'm taking concerted effort now to enunciate and to say things in a more audible way, or understandable way. So yes, the reality is I do tend to speak too fast, especially when I'm excited about something. I get excited and then I want to speak faster to get that excitement, not to get the excitement across, but to get to the point of the thing I'm excited about as quickly as possible. So I'm in a rush to share that information, so I tend to speak really quickly, which in the end actually takes away the effectiveness of what I'm saying, right? So in the effort of rushing around and saying something quickly, I end up making it harder for other people to feel excited about what I'm talking about. So I kind of shoot myself in the foot, basically. So what can I do about that? Well, the action is that I'm going to try to work on improving my diction, improving my enunciation. And really, these videos are a good opportunity for me to do that. So I'm going to work on enunciating a little more clearly so that you can understand me, and making sure that what I'm saying is understandable. So that's the action I'm going to take. I want to improve my verbal communication skills. And it's something that I've always had an issue with. I do it all the time. It's not just on video. I tend to talk fast and I tend to slur my words. And it's annoying to myself. One of the reasons I think I have an emotional response is because I know that about myself and I don't like it about myself. And usually we get upset about the things that we don't like about ourselves. So it reminds me of this kind of joke you'll see in videos or movies sometimes, or TV shows, where somebody says to a bad guy on a show, in a comedy usually, "Wow, you were so evil and uncaring and cruel." And the bad guy will say something like, "Well, thank you very much." Because to them, that's actually a compliment, right? That's something they like about themselves. If it was something they didn't like about themselves, they would say something like, "What? No, I'm not. What are you talking about?" So it's the things that you don't like about yourselves, you tend to be a little more defensive about, because you already recognize that that's something you need to work on. Whereas if it was something that I was proud of, like, "Oh, Mark, you're really good at something or other," right? It's like, "Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that." I would never say, "Oh, Mark, you're really bad at speaking and I can't understand a word you're saying." "Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that." You wouldn't say that. Well, I wouldn't say that. You might say that if you're trying to be unintelligible, but I'm trying to be intelligible, so that would be bad for me. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent now. Another example is Ruhi has told me multiple times that she doesn't like it when my video is unstable, when I don't use a tripod, which I'm using right now. And I recognize this, and I mentioned it before. Sometimes I wouldn't have my tripod handy or my selfie stick, or I'd have to hold the camera with my hand out here, and it kind of gets shaky and sore after a while. So sometimes it's not possible, but lately in the videos I've tried to always use my tripod so that it's easier to watch, because I recognize that's true for some people. If she says it's hard for her to watch when there's no tripod, then I have to recognize that it's probably true for other people as well, so I need to improve that. So I have been improving that in recent videos, as you'll notice, with the exception of things like when the cat and I are having a conversation. I can't set up a tripod for that shot because it's kind of happening in the moment, so I just whip out my camera. So for those situations I have to just try and hold it steady, but you can't have a tripod for every single life situation. That's just not possible. But I'm trying to improve it and use a tripod when I can. And that's the action I'm going to take. So there's two parts to it. Recognize whether it's true or not, and don't take emotional ownership. And then two, figure out how you can improve. If the criticism isn't constructive, then you have to figure out how you can improve that thing. So the end result is, while I still have a hard time receiving criticism, especially when it doesn't provide those opportunities or suggestions for improvement, because it isn't constructive, I'm still going to try to remove my emotions from that information, address the facts of that information, and if I can, improve myself to be better anyway. Wow, the wind is really picking up. It's interesting because the water was like a glass tabletop when I got here, and now it's all white caps. I'm going to show you a video I just took before I started this of my view right here, because this is it's Mauka Makai. Makai is towards the water, Mauka is towards the mountain. So this is the mountain back here, but I'm going to show you the video right now of the Makai side, and it's beautiful. There's a tent in front of me, and whoever slept there last night is a lucky person, because that's an awesome view to wake up to. But anyway, that's it for today. 15 minutes is long enough. I hope you all have a great day today, Tuesday, and Everyone be good. I was going to do an Indonesian word of the day, so I didn't do it yesterday, so I guess it's not every day. Here comes the sun. So my Indonesian word for today is going to be apa kabar, which I've said before, but apa kabar is how are you? The answer to that would be baik. Baik is fine. So if someone says apa kabar, you say baik. Like to ride a bike, but it's spelled B-A-I-K. But it sounds like a bike, with a bike you ride. So that's it for today. Terima kasih. Thank you, everyone. And I hope you all do well. And talk to you later. Sampai jumpa. Keep on, keep it on.